CALCBC Calculus. This is an addendum to Unit 4. It's the derivatives of inverse functions, which is covered extraordinarily briefly somewhere else in our notes, but this is a problem you see on the exam every now and then. I wanted to make sure I was very clear about it so people can get some extra practice. It's not a difficult process to understand, but it is a little bit difficult to understand how to do the problems. So you'll see a question like this. If f of x equals x squared, find the derivative of the inverse of x at y equals 9. And you say, what the heck is going on? Among other things, this has suddenly gone from f of x to y, but a lot of people prefer to see that anyway, so that's fine with me. Y equals x squared. Y equals 9. X equals plus or minus 3. I'm going to go with the positive one for now. And you might have a legitimate question going, how would I know that? Well, for now, you're going to have to just trust me. So, here's how it's done. It's right down here. Derivative of the inverse at x equals 3 is at y equals a, derivative of f of y. And that's just something I cannot, for the life of me, wrap my brain around. So we take the derivative of x, of f of x, pardon me. We get 2 of x, and then the derivative with respect to x of the inverse is 1 over 2x at x equals 3. Again, I don't like the fact that I don't have to worry about the negative 3. By the way, you could put in negative 3, but we're not going to get into that right now. We'll just stick with the positive. The answer, of course, is 1/6. So let's see if I can tie this together. Hopefully I didn't leave myself space. Thought I did. I'm going to put this up here. And some of you might say, why don't we just find the inverse? And I say, yeah, that's a good plan. So y equals x squared. Flip the variables. Solve for y. Now we want the derivative of the inverse at y equals 9. Yeah. dy dx equals 1 over 2 root x. That's the derivative in case you didn't know that. And now we put in, it's been flipped, 9. Notice they're the same. So I hope you can figure out what just happened. I can't. I've looked through it and I've tried to think about it. And I understand that the way we graph things, we have y equals x squared here. And we reflect it through the y equals x axis. And that's the inverse and a derivative, blah, blah. It just doesn't work for me. Hopefully you can do it. So find the derivative of the inverse when y equals 7. dy dx equals 3x squared. Derivative with respect to x of the inverse. I'm ahead of myself. 7 equals x to the third minus 1. 8 equals x to the third. X equals 2. 1 over 3x squared. For those who haven't seen this notation before, this means 1 over 3x squared. 1x equals 2. And the reason you haven't seen it before is because we kind of just ignore it. We just throw in the 2. So 1 over 3 times 4 equals 1/12. If you want, you can check that work. Make sure it's accurate. but it's not really a problem. So here's something I tried to put together, but if f of a equals c, then f to the negative first of c equals a. We want to find the derivative at x equals a. I'm sorry, I tried. I would try this one yourself. Pause it, see if you can make it happen. 29 equals x squared plus 4. 25 equals x squared. We're going to take the positive. Derivative of the inverse. One-tenth. So here's 4 more for you to try. Now I'll do them. It's one of my personal favorites. You do need a calculator or some serious ability. But we look at it and we go, hey, x equals 1. Seriously? Yeah, seriously. Any other solutions? We found a solution. We're happy. Yeah, that helps. Thanks for nothing. Derivative over 6x squared plus 5 x equals 1 equals 1/11th. This one, I think you're going to find x equals 1, 2. But again, I would graph it on my calculator. So we get 9 equals 3x to the third minus x plus 7. 3x to the third minus x minus 2 equals 0. 3 minus 1 minus 2. By inspection, x equals 1. I love that. By inspection, like I just happen to know that. Yeah. d dx of the inverse equals 1 over 9x squared minus 1. X equals 1 equals 1/8. 1 equals 8 over x to the third. X to the third equals 8. X equals 2. d dx of the inverse of x, 1 over, this is interesting, that's the negative third, so negative 3. You know what, I'm not comfortable doing that. I can do it, I'd rather see this. Negative 24x to the negative fourth, x equals 2. That's x to the fourth over negative 24, x equals 2, which is 16 over negative 24, which is negative 2/3. One equals 2x minus x to the third, x to the third minus 2x plus 1 equals 0, 1 minus 2 plus 1, x equals 1. Calculator if you can't find it. Derivative with respect to x of the inverse, 1 over negative 3x squared plus 2, x equals 1. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, so negative 1. Hope that helps. You got some practice problems to do. And as always, happy mathing.